tremendous looking trophy.
Hello, welcome to Platinum Explosion, number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name is John Blunt. Joining me for this special Friday late week episode of the show is, of course, Ashley Hobley.
Hey, John. Excited to be here. Excited about games. Excited about the future of PlayStation. If this event didn't get you hyped up, there must be something wrong with you.
All right, there's something wrong with me.
Isn't that right, Dylan? Don't you feel that way?
So I'm coming into this podcast knowing that, unlike usual, where you're the salty little bitch, I'm going to be the one on the more negative side for this one.
What?
Usually it's, this game looks good. Oh, it's all right. Nothing exciting. Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, yeah. Oh, look, set up expectations. If you just want to hear someone say this is the best thing ever, tune out my audio.
70 other podcasts, probably.
Yeah, probably, to be honest. All right, so let's get in it. Yeah, we're talking about PlayStation Showcase. It aired at 6 a.m. Friday, the 10th of September.
Thank you
for the time, 6 a.m. Yeah, it was pretty good, eh?
It's not perfect, but
I think 6 a.m. is pretty good.
I mean, any time after like 9 o'clock for us here in Australia, assuming it's a day when we're not working, that would be preferable.
I was about to say, but the good thing about 6 is it always works out where if you've got work, you can watch it and then go to work. Whereas if it's later, if it was like at 7, for some people that's too long, you know. So 6 is quite good because it always allows you to go to work. All right, so we'll run down through all the trailers, of course, as per usual, and go over, you know, what you liked and what you didn't like about what's happened here. But overall thoughts on the showcase. Obviously, you're a little bit more positive. What are your thoughts?
Yes. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I don't think it's like fantastic or one of the best ones they've ever put together. Obviously, there is a bit of a lag in the middle as a showcase, and there is certainly a feeling that they had the last like maybe 10 minutes, their first party stuff that they wanted to show, and then they built the rest of the show from that. You know what I mean? They only wanted to do this showcase to showcase those five games, I want to say. I think it was 4. The very last big 4. Sure, they had the pretty cool opening game, but the rest has been stuff we've already seen or know about. So I understand from that point of view, but I thought everything was really cool to look at. Again, those last 4 things, like huge reveals and tastes of what we're going to get on PlayStation in the future, and there was lots of other good stuff in there as well. But I've seen some of the criticisms, and I'm like, I'm sure I'll get to it. Yeah. What about you, Dylan? Why'd you hate everything?
So I was going to say, because obviously, I was going to say, is the reason, let's boil it down a little bit, is the reason you like this so much kinda just because of the stuff that was revealed being a bit more just, you know, basically your dream games?
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that helps. If it's not stuff you care about, then you're going to like it less.
All right. Yep. So I think that this was just a really disappointing showcase, to be honest. PlayStation, I think the main thing is that if PlayStation had been doing more of these things, it wouldn't have been less of a letdown. It would be like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. Like just if this was Nintendo, who consistently sort of does a combination of different sorts of directs and stuff, and they chucked a bunch of trailers for their stuff at the end, you'd be like, oh, cool, like we'll get something like probably 2 months again or whatever. But PlayStation's done nothing for like 12 months. And just the whole structure of this show was fucking...
What are you talking about? They've done lots of states of play.
Nothing. They've done states of play and games that we already knew about. They haven't done anything like big event-wise to announce new stuff, basically. At all. Throughout the entire year. They haven't really announced shit. So this was sort of set up being like, okay, here's our big showcase. PlayStation Showcase 2021. Let's get excited. We're going to tell you about stuff that's coming soon, tell you about the future. Cool, get excited. The way the show was structured, like when it starts, it makes sense, you know, like, and we'll get into it in a second. But it starts with it starts with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which we'll get to in a moment. You're like, cool, bang. And then it gets into like a weird selection of stuff after that.
I think you're missing the awesome live action trailer that
that
we're going to see on TV for the
that's
next 6
actually
months.
the other weird thing. Why it's like 3 minutes. I've got it here. How long is it exactly? It is 2 minutes 35 seconds. And that's how they show. They don't show a shorter version of it. They show the full 2 minutes 35 seconds. Oh my God, why? It's an ad. Like, it plays on TV. The people tuning into this do not fucking care. The people who are tuning
it's never going to air like that on TV.
But the people who are tuning into this already want or have PlayStations. They don't really need to see the full stupid bloody ad. So then the way they get to it at the end, though, where they're like, who'd they have come out? It was Herman Holtz. Yeah. They have Herman Holtz come out. He does a little interlude where he's like, let me tell you, it was after the Uncharted 4 remake thing or whatever. And then he comes out and he's like, let me tell you, this is all of exciting stuff coming up for PlayStation. And I look at the clock and there's like minus 10 minutes left in this thing. I'm like, fucking hell. Like, we're just going to, like, what are they just going to showcase like God of War gameplay or whatever? But then we just get into a weird like splatter of trailers, the majority of which are for things that we don't know release dates for and presumably are just so far away. So like we'll do deep dives when we get to them, but in this section you get the Wolverine game, which I presume is coming out like 2025 at the fucking earliest. You got Gran Turismo 7, which is coming out March next year. So that's something relatively soon, but it's not this Christmas season or whatever you want to call it. Marvel Spider-Man 2, which got a 2023 release date. And God of War Ragnarok, which didn't get a release date, but is presumably late or at least mid at the earliest, but probably late next year. So what the fuck am I playing if I don't care about Gran Turismo between now and God of War's release date? When we find out what that is. Other than Horizon.
Deathloop.
What?
Deathloop.
That's literally next week.
Well, you asked the question and I gave you an answer.
And I've already played the entire game by watching the 22 billion trailers they've put out for it. The fact I was like...
People have said that there's... that's not a fair... no.
What?
Look at the game, you know.
I've had a fair look. I've seen it so much that I've done the game. I've beat the game. I beat it by watching all these trailers. They nearly went the entire conference without showing one. Then they had to step in and show one more fucking trailer. So overall, I was very disappointed by this showcase. I just think it's honestly, and this is the thing. I can say this, and it's fine. PlayStation is my favorite console. PlayStation is the one specialized podcast that we make on Exposure Network. Most of us, the majority of Sony preferred people. At this stage, coming off this, I would say Xbox and Nintendo in their recent conferences and whatever else things, they're doing more to excite me or at least bring in new people than PlayStation is. PlayStation's resting all their laurels, and it probably works, obviously, but they're resting all their laurels on these Marvel big budget things. But then also this, if you give zero fucks about Marvel, there is literally 3 Marvel things in this showcase. Guardians, Spider-Man, Wolverine. All right, I don't care about Marvel. What you got? God of War. Racing? Other than the third-party stuff? Like, I know, it's not very, it's like, and the thing is, I'm not saying I'm not looking forward to Spider-Man. We'll get to that trailer in a second or whatever else, but 2023. What are you doing for me now, PlayStation? Like, or even in the next 6 months, PlayStation? Other than Horizon.
Only Horizon, a massive open world game.
That's one game. One game.
What's Xbox putting out in the next?
Halo.
One game.
That's this year.
One game. It's not even the full product. They haven't finished it properly.
It's single player and multiplayer. They got a bunch of shit.
I think you're being very picky. You know,
I'm being very disappointed.
They can't show you stuff that they don't have, I think is the main takeaway.
Why don't they have it?
Because they're working on it.
Oh,
because they blew their load at the end of last generation, at the start of generation. You know, it takes time to make these games, unless you're Insomniac.
Yeah, well, how do you explain that? That's the other thing. Why the fuck are they working on so much?
They've always been very prolific into releasing
They
games.
literally just put out a game.
Yeah.
2 games in
like
the
I
last
said,
12 months.
You look at their track record, they go like at most 2 years without a release.
It's ridiculous. Absolute nonsense.
It's value for money, that's what
So yeah, that's my thoughts. Let's get into what happens here. So I'm gonna skip the trailer. It's weird. It's like people playing. It's like I don't know. I think they're saying that Xbox is playing checkers and they're playing chess.
No, they're both playing chess.
So everyone's playing chess.
Chess, the most complex game, biggest game in the world, arguably, through history.
And they're playing it.
Up to it's just a fun, quirky. We've seen these kind of trailers before,
But why?
The weird, random live action person fighting a giant monster. I don't know. It's a cool branding thing, I guess.
What a weird thing, though.
Also, every single time that I've seen that and someone's been reacting to it, they've shout-outed the White Queen's boots, which are very cool with the logos from the PlayStation logos. I don't know if you noticed.
I have.
Because you're so angry at the screen.
No, at this stage I wasn't angry yet.
No, I'm pretty sure. It sounds like you're angry from the second it started.
I was angry by the end of it. From the second it started, I was quite excited. I woke up very keen. I went to bed very keen for this showcase, and then woke up very keen. It's not like I regretted it. I'm not saying it was a bad showcase. I'm just saying it wasn't a good one. The first thing we got though was a first proper trailer or teaser trailer basically for Aspire's remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It's a teaser trailer that literally just shows Revan rip out his lightsaber and be like, yeah, I'm here to fuck shit up, dude. Actually doesn't say anything. The weirdest thing about this was I had Twitter open, of course, and I see everyone losing their mind, like, oh my God. And I was literally going, wasn't this announced?
No, it'd been so rumored and talked about that I guess you've thought it was fact.
I made it a fact in my head because, I know we talked about it here before and whatever else, but maybe it was one of those stories that read as, oh, this is like just basically confirmed. We're just waiting for them to say it. So in my head, I was like, pretty sure this is confirmed. So that was a weird thing. But yeah, I mean, that obviously I'm going to play or would like to play and check out and whatever else. And I'm keen for that, but it is still probably several years away from the way they talked about it in the post show through to the press release that got sent through today, through to the fact it's just a teaser trailer showing Revan. Like all of that, to me, that game is still 2 years away probably with the way things are going. Probably. So, but yeah, should be good. Hopefully it's obviously the biggest thing Spire's done. They usually just do, in case people don't know, ports, like slight sort of HD remasters, nothing too fancy. So this is going to be their biggest project to date. So we'll see how that goes.
It sounds very ambitious. It sounds like they're going to give it their full Final Fantasy VII remake treatment, which could be potentially very interesting or potentially blow up in their face.
I will say also for people who are wondering, because I'm sure some people will be, people were, so it was answered online on StarWars.com already. The wording for this is it takes place in the Star Wars Legacy line, which, in case you're unaware, Legacy is not canon. So,
which is it's weird that Legacy is not canon.
Why
would you choose that word?
Because it's like the legacy of Star Wars, I guess. I don't know, like the old stuff. Yeah. So in case people aren't aware, when Disney brought Star Wars, they basically made everything bar the Clone Wars animated series not canon going forward. Yeah, and the movies, obviously. Not canon, and they branded all of that legacy content. And then whenever they've reprinted those books, comics, series, whatever, it has like a legacy banner across the top of them to let you know that it is not considered canon, but it is it's still, you can still enjoy it, obviously. Cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with enjoying it just because it's not canon. But yeah, for the people who are wondering, this game will not be canon for Star Wars.
Also say pretty interesting get for PlayStation.
Oh yeah,
considering
PlayStation
that when it-
timed exclusive. Yeah,
Timed exclusive, but Knights of the Old Republic never came to PlayStation. It was an Xbox exclusive back in the day.
not the only thing in this trailer. That's a first time game coming to PlayStation. There you go. So then we got Project Eve, which basically it looks like, I don't know. It's like a space Bayonetta. I don't
It's
know.
a weeb game, right?
It's fucking, yeah, it's a weeb game. A weeb hack and slash or whatever.
I thought that, Platinum Games was just making another game that wasn't Bayonetta, but it turns out it wasn't Platinum Games.
It's Chinese.
It looks like a Platinum game.
Interestingly, it's a Chinese game. So
Interesting.
PlayStation's sort of continuing, I guess. They've been pushing or doing a good job lately at making these connections and pushing Chinese games, and
which is interesting considering the news coming out of China in the last couple of days. Which I'm sure we'll talk about on Arcade Couch this week or something.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I don't know. It's a weird subject.
It's a weird story that Australians aren't going to care about.
But yeah, like obviously Fist that just came out, Chinese, the whole China Hero project thing, but they were all China developers. So yeah, but you'd think it's
Tencent and
NetEase
are like the biggest things in gaming.
Yeah, and they're all China. Yeah, but it's funny because it looks like a very Japanese game. Obviously, just the anime aesthetic and whatever else to it. But yeah, it's a lot more violent than your typical sort of weeb game, I guess. Oddly, the character design doesn't fit into the world. Like the girl, like just.
It says in the article Exposure Network, it's Korean developer.
Oh, maybe I was wrong.
Is that correct?
Maybe that is correct. Maybe it's not Chinese. Maybe it is Korean. I mean, correct.
I don't know. Who wrote this article?
Who did write that article? Let's double check. Maybe I got it completely wrong. It's been a long fucking day. Shift Up Corporation. No, it is Korean. So my bad. It's Korean.
Cool. So disregard all the stuff.
Disregard what we just said. But I mean, some of the points still stands because I was trying to say that PlayStation's like sort of doing this thing where they're reaching out to, I guess, non-Japanese Asian developers. So yeah, that was kind of. I mean, my point still does stand. Like, because that was the whole thing with the China Hero project was to put an eye on Chinese developed games that aren't just what do you call them? Gacha or like, sort of mobile games or that sort of thing. And that's what that project does. So I guess this is a similar sort of thing where, as far as I know, they don't have like a Korean hero project or whatever you want to call it. But it is in that line of them sort of looking to push other Asian countries that aren't Japan. Yeah. So, I mean, it looks all right. It's just one of those things where I like the look of the monsters and stuff. I just think the main character just looks odd within this world. Doesn't really meld. Maybe that's part of the story or whatever. But again, the combat in these sorts of games, if it feels good in your hands, then it's a selling point. But watching it could feel really clunky playing it, and you just don't know. So, and I hope Project Eve isn't the final name because that's trouble. Then they went Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Cool. It's coming out March 25th next year.
You didn't enjoy that trailer?
Oh, I think it's fine. Like, I haven't played any Borderlands for so long. It's just like, I'm like, yeah, this is a fun trailer. It just doesn't get me excited because I'm like, will I play this? I don't know. Like it's
a fun trailer. It doesn't get you excited. Okay.
It's a fun trailer. It's a fun trailer. It's definitely something where I'm like, I wish this was just like an animated Netflix movie. Like I could just watch it because that seems like a fun concept. Maybe that's what they'll do eventually. I don't know. Then we
can just watch somebody else play it. That's coming out March. That's now-ish, right?
It's not
soonish.
It's not a first party title. It's on everything.
Is that
I'm talking about what PlayStation is doing to me. I can buy this on Xbox or PC. Or maybe we won't count PC because that's the one where you're allowed to have crossover. But it is coming to Xbox as well. So,
all right.
Then we got trailer for Forspoken. So this was a highlight for the show for me personally. I thought this looks really, really good. Very pretty, great character designs, awesome setup, introduction to the world where they've sort of explained this before, where the main character gets sort of whipped into this fantasy world, and her bracelet or whatever talks to her, and she's got to find a way out. And the first time we saw it was just her talking to herself, and then a dragon flies over, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell's going to go on? Yeah, it looks really, really cool. Obviously, that they show the big world, exploring it, these sort of platforming sections or whatever, where there's an exploration element to the game, and then you've obviously got these big battles that are going to happen. And at the end of it, they set up a very Final Fantasy-esque villain, I guess, or someone similar. Looks very Final Fantasy-esque. I think this looks really, really good. This was definitely one of my favorite trailers of the show, and definitely one of the upcoming games that I'm most excited about. Just looks really unique. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it looks great. Like, really beautiful. And yeah, interesting idea of, it's a very, an idea that's being used a lot probably in like Japanese. Like, they've got the whole genre of person from a different world goes to like a fantasy world. But this is very different and like feels very Western take on it and that kind of stuff. So yeah, very interested in this. It's coming spring 2022. It's like autumn us here. So like start of the year, March, April, May should be here.
March, April, May. Hopefully, if it's not
PlayStation
delayed.
exclusive.
Hopefully, if it's not fucking delayed. Oh my god. So that's cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Also, it looks very empty. Is the only thing.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell because they should obviously
it's hard to, yeah.
they show her running around the world or whatever, and I'm like, there's no way you're not going to have side missions or locations to explore or something. I think maybe just for the trailer purpose or the fact they're still working on maybe those areas, they just sort of showcase these really nice looking vistas or whatever to showcase the game. So it's like if there's nothing in the world, what are you doing? Like, surely there's random enemies and I don't know. Like, what did those dragons do? Surely they burn down villages or something. Isn't that what dragons do? Then we got Rainbow Six Extraction trailer. Yep. It's a game. It looks fun, but I'm pretty sure this is a trailer we've seen before. Or basically played like one would seen before.
I get this one and the, No, it is Quarantine, right?
This is a renamed version of Quarantine. They ditched the name Quarantine because of COVID.
Well, then I didn't get it mixed up.
No, it's the same game. They reworked the concept though, because originally it was just like more horror vibe on like that subway or whatever the person was down. Then they renamed it and it's got this sort of new fun co-op vibe or whatever. Then we had a trailer for Alan Wake Remastered. So this is cool. Obviously, they sort of announced this a couple days prior. I think they didn't want to announce it a couple days ago. It was just getting leaked everywhere to a degree. So this will be the first time that Alan Wake makes its way to PlayStation, which is cool. We kind of saw this coming. I think it was maybe a year or a year and a half ago, maybe even. But sometime after Control came out, I remember covering a story on Arcade Couch actually, talking about how Remedy had got the licensing back for Alan Wake and how that probably meant they would either try to do a sequel or the easiest / most probable thing, which would be to just release Alan Wake on everything again. And here we are. So I feel like that was sort of writing on the wall the second they got that back off Xbox. So I'm really keen for this because I obviously tried. I got like halfway through it when I was trying to do a playthrough thing or whatever, and I never went back to it because like some other stuff released and I just got distracted and never went back. But it's a game obviously I was enjoying, and I would obviously prefer to play it on PlayStation, I guess. And here's a brand new remastered version that's going to look a little bit better and whatever else. People have already done sort of side by side comparisons, and the character models look a lot better, and the lighting and all these sorts of things. And the lighting is obviously an important element for this game. In case people don't know, I guess, because it's a PlayStation podcast and this is an Xbox game. Alan Wake was huge on Xbox 360 when it released. It was like one of the biggest sort of games. One of my friends was obsessed with it because the core premise is basically, well, the whole game is obviously very Stephen King inspired. I combined Stephen King with his son's author name, Joe Hill, I think, just then. Stephen King combination where both the story feels like it's inspired by and it almost feels like you're playing like a Stephen King like character almost. So Alan Wake's like a writer who's come to this holiday town or beach town, I guess. Not beach town, lake town. Yeah. small town to get away for the weekend or whatever the hell it is, and rest up with his wife, and then she goes missing, and then in the night he hears things go bump, and he goes out exploring, and he discovers there's like these monsters which are people that are attacking him and whatever else, and the way you fight them back is just with his torchlight. That's the concept for the game. So it's not like an Outlast or something where you're hiding from the enemies. You are like heading into them, and you can just sort of fight your way through them with the light to kill them. And there are boss battles, and there's puzzles to solve, and you get shotguns and stuff like that because you can shoot them once you get them with the lights and whatever else. But primarily it's just sort of a very Stephen King inspired romp. And also, since Control came out and the Control DLC came out, we now know that Alan Wake is part of the Remedy-verse, I guess is what we're going to call it, or whatever you want to go along with that. So yeah, replaying it or playing it for the first time, you can now play it with the knowledge that Alan Wake is now I can't remember the official wording, but it's like an event, whatever they call them in Control. Like it's a event that's caused, and they discuss in that game, and there's something in Alan Wake that causes such event, and all those things are interlinked now. So whether they're working on Control, they're working on probably Control 2 and whatever else at the same time. They're working on like 3 or 4 billion games, Remedy, at the moment. So fucking good luck keeping up with all that. But presumably once Control 2, maybe they're going to work on Alan Wake 2 after this, or maybe they already are. So get ready for the Remedy verse. Grand Theft Auto 5 got a trailer because someone hasn't brought it, or everyone's going to rebuy it because it's coming to PS5. I don't really know the big difference between this. They're like, oh, it loads fast now. And I'm like, as someone who hasn't played it, I thought the core concept of the game was that you just press the button and it like instantly or semi-instantly switch
now it's going to be faster.
Well, have you played it? You played it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's been almost 8 years now.
There you go.
It's crazy that it's that long ago. But yeah, it was reasonably quick.
Yeah, I thought it was quick. I thought that was the idea.
I'm pretty sure I played it on PS3, so...
Yeah. I thought the whole thing was like, it took a while to load into the game, but once you was in, you could sort of like, it would sort of quickly switch.
Yeah, I'm sure it's smaller stuff like going into buildings and that kind of stuff will be quicker and that kind of stuff. Like, it's still like, take like 10 seconds or something. It's like, it's hidden a little bit by the animation effect of like zooming out and then going across to wherever other part of the world you're going to.
Yeah.
So it might be a bit more seamless. But yeah, obviously, in case you didn't know, it's going to be a free upgrade to PS5 for PS4 owners, which I guess makes sense. They don't need any more money. And they make all their money online anyway. So, but yeah, I fully expect the PS5 version to top charts for the next 6 years or until
however long the console exists.
Until Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. Yeah. That's the only thing that can top it, I think.
Probably. If it does.
Even then, it might just be second place
then we got Ghostbuyer Tokyo, got a trailer. We haven't seen this for a little while. So, yeah. We get a look at the protagonist this time. The villain who looks like, I don't know, some occult god weird dude who's probably a cyber attacker or some shit. And the combat, which you're fighting off, I don't know, more... That's the thing with this game. This game has just slowly just become not what it was revealed as. And now it's sort of a supernatural sci-fi game with like they try and make it look like it's still scary, but it's just the way they're editing it. For the most part, it looks like you're just sort of facing enemies head on. And even if they have designs that are sort of scary in quotation marks, I don't think this looks like a horror game. It's just more a supernatural,
more supernatural
thriller
with a more of a Japanese like horror, or supernatural creatures, you know.
Yeah, I'm way less keen for this than I was when it was originally revealed. It's less the like anything to do with the story or whatever we see. It's just the combat just doesn't look that great to me. I don't know. Maybe it plays better than it looks, but the way it because obviously they're like casting spells more or less is what the character's doing. It looks like they're firing fire spells and whatever the hell else and all this sort of stuff. I don't know if it's just the hand animations that just looks weird to me or something. Something in my brain says this just doesn't feel right. And because of that, I just can't get super excited for this. I also hate the design of the main bad guy's mask for some reason.
Really?
Yeah. It just annoys me. I don't know. Again,
what?
I'm not sure. There's just something about it that just doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. It just looks off. I don't know. It doesn't look scary. It just looks weird. I don't know. It looks like you belong in.
Wouldn't it be, isn't it scary, the idea of having that face for the rest of life?
I don't know. Some of the enemy designs look cool, I guess. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, it looks like they've gone with a very Japanese. I think last time we talked about it, I said it definitely looks like it's a brand new anime IP with these cool supernatural elements in the vein of something like a Bleach or a Shaman King or something like that. You know, those kinds of creatures. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. It'll be interesting to see once people get more hands-on, and it definitely feels like they've gone way away from the spooky stuff they said it was, and away from Evil Within-esque gameplay and that kind of stuff. So,
and then we got a Guardians of the Galaxy trailer that had Cosmo in it, which is the only part I got excited for. Otherwise, it's again like not saying it looks bad, just I'm not getting super excited for it because it just looks like it looks a little bit too. I'm having fun.
It looks like it's too much. You're having fun. Your problem is it's having too much fun. Yeah, I can see that being an issue. Too much fun. Can't have that. You know, I don't know. It looks like it's just trying too hard to be the movie, is what I'm getting at, I think. Or fit in that same line. It just doesn't excite me in particular. Mm.
Tell everyone why it doesn't excite you.
What does excite me? It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's all it takes for you, though. Like it could look terrible.
No, I like the humor and the gameplay. It looks interesting, and they've obviously from Guardians they're going in a very different direction where they're doing it. If you listened to All New Marvelcast last year when we did a review of Guardians of the Galaxy, we did a comics recommendation of the first kind of run of Dan Abnett and Lanning's I can't remember his first name run of Guardians of the Galaxy, and it looks like they're adapting the villains for that first run of like the Church of whatever that so it's just kind of a cult that you're going to be facing off, it looks like, in this. So yeah, that seems interesting to me. Much as anything but Thanos at the moment, you know.
Fucking Thanos.
No offense, purple guy, but
over you. Then we got a trailer for Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which is the Battle Royale one that's coming out relatively soon. I think like this month, maybe. Can't remember.
Yeah.
Just look pretty good. I think the gameplay looks like presentation wise looks a lot higher quality than when they first saw this, and it was just in the beta phase. You've got all these sorts of different classes that have different abilities. It seems, you know, slow down or whatever else. But I mean, there's parts where people are like, you know, shooting off roofs and they like flash, like sort of teleport to them, and then they feed on enemies or whatever else. And I don't know, like after all, they're like, oh, who the hell would want to play this sort of thing? I do feel like this looks unique enough to sort of find an audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this sold me more on it than anything else so far, I think. Which is interesting because, you know, I've been making jokes about it constantly.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess normally this sort of game would like usually like vampire sort of stuff like fits in horror where it's not usually your thing, I guess. But there's nothing about this that's a horror game. It's just like a supernatural battle royale mostly. And being in third person, having powers, having the different classes, having that sort of close, both like subways, and it seems like there's indoor areas. There's like that one part where they're in like a meat room in the trailer, but then you've got people also just fighting on these small city streets, but they're very enclosed. Like I presume it's British or something. The setting because they look like sort of European sort of design of buildings and stuff like that. So all of that makes it stand out. I think to be something different.
Yeah, I'm
definitely keen to give it a go.
It could be really interesting. You know, you can play as Nosferatu, a really old vampire. So what I desperately want is them to have a what we see in the shadows tie-in where you can play as those characters in this game.
Well, you know, maybe if it's popular enough, they'll do it. So there you go. Find out soon. Game's out soon.
Do it.
Then we had a Deathloop trailer, which I'm not talking about. I just can't be bothered talking about Deathloop anymore. It's out literally on Tuesday.
Dylan, he's got so many questions. How does he get there? Like, what's up with the time loop? I think he had other ones. I can't remember.
Yeah. It's out on Tuesday.
And we got a major story reveal. Find out why he was there.
Do you? Because I zoned out. So I think when the Deathloop trailer started playing, I spent that 2 minutes, however long that trailer was, piecing together this article. No, not but they get a pound up. Piecing together the fucking article, or up to that point anyway. Then we got a Kid Amnesia exhibition. So this is a Radiohead game based on the Radiohead album. They're re-releasing that album soon, like next month or November or whenever the hell it is. So I presume this is just some sort of free thing potentially, or sure it's not going to cost that much, that ties into that album re-release. So Radiohead fans, yeah, fucking boy. Do you like Radiohead, Ash?
Listen, I definitely am a creep.
There you go.
I am a weirdo.
You're a massive fan. See?
That's the only one I remember. It's kind of crazy they're making something for albums that came out like 20 years ago.
Well, the re-release with some new songs, I think, is the deal. So
yeah,
I don't know.
What is it even going to be? I mean,
I don't know, and I don't care. Who fucking cares? Just. If it's free, we can all download it and get free advertisement for the album, I guess. And if it costs money, then hardcore Radiohead fans will play it.
Sony described it as an upside-down digital analog universe created from original artwork and recordings.
The fuck does that mean?
So that means absolutely nothing to anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, what the hell does that mean? Then we got Cherie. Do you reckon that's right? Cherie?
That's how I've heard everybody else pronounce it.
Okay, I'm assuming the T is silent, yeah. So this is a cutie game, right? I mean, that's what I'm going to go for. It's like a...
Come on, Dylan. Did you hate this one as well?
No, this one was good.
The highlight of the show, you'd say?
No, not the highlight of the show. No. That might be Foregone.
Pushing it.
Or whatever it's called. Forspoken. What's it called?
Forspoken.
Yeah, probably that. This is pretty cool. Yeah. You got a turtle. You can transform animals. Very pretty. Island exploration. I'm all about this. I'm very keen for this. Can't wait. It's coming to PC as well, so it's not technically it might become other things. I don't actually remember, but it first showed up at either the Game Awards this past year or the year prior. I can't remember. It was at the Game Awards when it was revealed, though. That's when we first saw it. This was just a lot deeper trailer, and I haven't seen it since it showed up at the Game Awards. So I don't know if it's been at like one of these, potentially one of the handful, very small number of game presentation things that I've not watched this year. Because I know there's been like a future game show that was on like after this past E3 that I fell asleep and didn't watch, but maybe it was in that I missed. I don't know. But
I will say, now that you bring it up, I think that's the reason we didn't see many indie games, because they've been shown at every other event between E3 and now. That, you know, there's nothing new for it. All the indie games that are being made right now have been shown off already.
Yeah, I'll admit something else, which is that I just think as time goes on, I will happily enjoy Spider-Man, and I could, like, say Spider-Man comes out or whatever, some of these big AAA games, I do still enjoy them, some of them more so than others. Like, I could like review Spider-Man and think it's 10 out of 10, but I also just think from a like presentation point of view of what gets me most excited, if I actually think about it, it's usually like weirder indie games that are going to get me more excited than just a known property where I'm like, I'm sure that game's great. You know, like I'm not going like, oh, Spider-Man, like, whew, do you reckon Insomniac's a good developer that can make that property work? No, we're all watching it going, I'm sure that's great. Cool. Tell me when it's out. I'll play it. Doesn't like, I think when I'm looking for exciting games, I'm looking for new experiences for the most part. I don't know. So, or at least a nice mixture. And I just needed some indie love or something in here, some smaller shit. Where the fuck are you? Where are you, Shuhei? Come back.
He's going to have his own indie state of play any day now. Also, I think this will, fill the gap in our soul now that Wild has been cancelled. You know, this will let you change into different animals at will.
You can turn into a turtle, and because it still has the sunflower in its turtle shell somehow, but that's cool. So then
also ukulele player at the start.
Yes,
people are gonna go crazy with that, I think.
Then we got a trailer for Uncharted Legacy of Thebes collection, which is Uncharted 4 plus Lost Legacy. In one thing, it's coming to PS5 and PC. So PC players, Wikipedia the plots of Uncharted 1, 2, 3 and Golden Abyss. And if
you're in America, you can play it through PS Now.
That's right, on your PC. So do that, and then you're good for these games because you're not getting.
And then if you don't have PS Now in the US, you can probably get like a PS4 really cheap.
That's right,
or PS3 really cheap. Probably play those first 3 games that way.
Do you care to replay these games?
Not really. Not right now.
Me neither.
I don't have a sudden urge. No. Like,
I never really like. I remember when the Uncharted the Uncharted collection came to PS4, and it'd been so long since I'd played 1 or 2, maybe a little while since 3 as well. Like by that point, I was like, I could like give those a go. But Uncharted 4 literally feels like it came out last year to me. I know it didn't, but I just mean like hyperbole. It does feel like it came out like a year ago.
Yeah.
So I don't particularly care for this.
I don't know. I'm not one of those gamers that likes to go play the games over and over again, I don't know if you're similar.
No, because I don't have the fucking time.
Well, of course you don't, because you want new things all the time, so.
What's that even that I want? It's just like, I just don't have the time. Plus, even if I did, I'd be like, would I want to spend it just replaying games? No. If we weren't doing Explosion Network and I had more time, I would probably just, instead of rather play, if I had free time now and you were like, you can replay Uncharted 4 or whatever you want, I would go, cool. I'm going to use that time to just play fucking Hades and go for the platinum, I guess. I would, out of the things I could pick to do, if I had to pick something. All right, so then we got a trailer for Marvel's The Wolverine. It shows Wolverine sitting at a bar. He's kicked everyone's ass. He has a cowboy hat on. Some dude begins to walk up at him. Wolverine's knuckles are all fucked up, and then obviously the claw. At first, I'll be legit. I didn't pick this until the claws happened, until they popped out. Up until then, I was like, oh, what is this?
No. As soon as you see the close up on the fist, I thought,
you got
wow,
it.
They're going to do Wolverine. Wow, they're doing X-Men. That's what I thought.
X-Men.
But yeah, Wolverine.
So
Wolverine's just the gateway to X-Men, really.
So that's Insomniac. It clearly says it's not gameplay. It just says in small text at the bottom of the trailer, it says in development for PlayStation 5. It doesn't say and 4. So take that to the bank, I guess. So you would assume
it's a while away because they're not going to make a PS4 version. If you had to take a wild stab at the guy in the dark, when do you think?
2025 at the earliest. Yeah.
I'm saying 2024. So
a year after Spider-Man?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it's more in the vein of Miles Morales than
Look, Spider-Man. If we find out it's more in the vein of Miles Morales, I'll change my thing. But I'm going fully fledged game. And that's what I'm assuming it's like.
You calling Miles Morales not a fully fledged game?
No. I love Miles. I think Miles is a better game than the original Spider-Man, but
I know.
Just like in the scheme of what people call fully fledged. Oh, it's only 12 hours. Oh, fucking not worth the money. Oh, get another hobby, you fuckwit.
It's gonna be weird because murdering people in this game.
Yeah, no, that's
Spider-Man not killing.
That's
everyone.
the other thing. Like, I just don't think. I really hope it's violent because I feel like Wolverine without violence is not Wolverine, and people can go, "Oh, but what about the X-Men Hugh Jackman movies?" I don't know. They kind of made it work, I guess. But if you're playing a game, if I want to play Wolverine, I want it to be fucking violent. Like, what do people consider the best X-Men, best Wolverine movie?
Logan.
Yeah, the most violent one. People loved it. It's not about the violence. It just makes sense. Like, they're literally the sharpest metal coming out of his knuckles, and he's slicing people with them. If that's not violent, then what the fuck is? Come on.
I mean, Black Panther doesn't draw blood. He's got adamantium all over him.
Reality, he should.
Yeah, it's all about control. That's what it is.
I know hair control.
Hit him with the blunt side of the.
I think there is a fucking blunt. We then got Gran Turismo 7 trailer. So this is our biggest and best look at Gran Turismo in some time, probably since the reveal. I don't think they've shown fuck all for this game, really. We now have a March 2022 release date incoming. So that's actually, relatively, I guess, soon-ish. This looks very pretty, of course. My only problem with this trailer was I'm like, the game's pretty. I get it. I would have assumed this based off every Gran Turismo is always pretty. They put a lot of effort.
History, yeah.
Yeah, they put a lot of effort into making these things look good. I just wished I could have seen more raw gameplay. I don't know. Like,
we're going to get a super big deep dive at some point.
State of play, yeah. That makes sense.
It's like, hey, this is all the customization options you could pick.
Because they show that very smart. There's like a couple.
Let me slowly show you every shade of color you can paint your car.
I just need to see a gameplay trailer where, as I've complained about many times at this point, I want gameplay where it shows them boot the game and then get into a race and how long that takes. Because as I've said before, when the last Gran Turismo I tried to play and it took like 5 minutes to load into a game, this ain't happening. I need to get into these.
They can just put that as like a separate trailer.
I just need it to be faster. Because
PlayStation boot up, load Gran Turismo, get into race in 20 seconds.
I could potentially get into this if there's nothing else sort of happening around the time. I do have a history of these games. I don't mind a more simi racer if I'm in the right mindset for it. I can totally get into it. I think I've talked about before. I was obsessed with 2 on PS1 or whatever. But that was when we had a full like driving thing set up when I was a kid. Like my dad built I can't remember if I've said this before.
Steering wheel and stuff.
But he built it into like, so he got like a shitty little plastic chair and like built a car frame so you could sit in it and then like properly pretend you're driving a car. Like instead of like sitting, you know how people just put them on their desk and you're like sitting in a computer chair and the pedals are on the floor or whatever. Yeah. So it was actually laying in a sort of cockpit. So I had a lot of fun with that as a kid because it just made it a lot more realistic and fun to play, obviously. But and I played a bunch of the PS2, I think R-Spec or whatever it was called. Played a fair bit of that one as well.
Yeah.
So I can get into it. It looks very good. I just hope it runs a lot better. I hope there's just a lot more engaging stuff to do. I hope they're fixed up a lot. I know they can't take away the license stuff because that's a big part of Gran Turismo, but also just make the game a bit more accessible for if they want it to be a bit more successful. Because I know they've talked about before about these games, the last one just not doing that well. So you want it to be more successful. You can't fight Forza Horizon, because it's a completely different sort of genre or whatever. But if you want it to be,
because they're giving it away for free.
Well, that too. But if you want to like be a bit more, bring in more audience for this, I think you just need to make the game a bit more accessible to be able to get stuff. Because if you haven't played Gran Turismo before, you have this whole thing where it's like, I want to buy the faster car. Well, you've got to pass these license tests, and the license tests can actually be quite difficult at times, and you have to pass those to even be able to buy and then race some cars. And then there's a grinding aspect.
Dylan, the answer is simple. Just microtransactions.
Well, yeah, let's not go that far. And then also there's a grinding element of like, you want money to buy the car. You've got to do like you might have to grind out races to more so than people might be used to. I don't know, like so. Then we got Marvel's Spider-Man 2. As we've mentioned a couple times now, it is releasing in 2023. The trailer showcases Peter and Miles fighting on the street, fighting just a bunch of random bad guys. I don't think there's any like necessary things about them. But the big reveal is, I guess, they make sure to show that Miles and Peter are in it. So I know we've talked about this before of like, what would they do with the next mainstream game? I think I was saying like it has to be both surely, or else Miles Morales just seems like a weird game to do if it's not going to have both of them in it. This seems to confirm that to me, at least. That's what I took away from it. Miles and Peter will both be playable, is what I'm going to say now. I'm going to go with that.
It should be interesting, like how they juggle that.
Maybe you can choose per mission. Maybe they split up their missions. These sorts of things. I think there's obviously ways to do it. But the big reveal, of course, right at the end of the trailer, Venom is the bad guy. Not that huge of a reveal, I guess.
Not a huge shock for people who were paying attention to the end of Spider-Man.
Yeah, because they more or less tease. Look, we're getting into spoilers for Spider-Man 1, but at this stage we're talking about sequel, so like, come on. They more or less tease in this universe they're going to have Harry Osborn basically become Venom, unless it's a bait and switch, but that was the tease at the end of Spider-Man. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, because the other thing they announced, the guy from Candyman, the original Candyman, is doing the voice of the symbiote. But of course, Scott Porter voiced Harry Osborn in the first game, so
that doesn't mean anything, though. Because
that doesn't mean anything. It could be the symbiote. Could be a different voice,
which usually it is because it's other than when Tom Hardy's like putting on a different voice.
What about Topher Grace?
Did he do both?
Sure his voice was. I don't know.
I don't care.
Find out when we talk about it on All New Marvelcast at some point.
Coming up, within the next month or so. Yeah. You got any other thoughts?
They also heavily hint that Kraven the Hunter is going to be.
Do they?
In the game.
Where do they hint that?
That's who's doing the voiceover, it seems like.
Is it?
Yes. Someone wanting to hunt somebody to give them a thrill and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Kraven Hunter. Yeah.
Those are my favorite kind of Spider-Man stories when Peter has to face like multiple threats kind of overlapping.
Well, I mean, there was like a full Sinister Six of villains in the first game, so
yeah, and that's one of my favorite Spider-Man stories. So
having two villains would be small in
small
this
potatoes,
but also if you have two characters, it makes sense to have multiple villains, at least, especially if one, you can have Peter focus on Venom and maybe you could have Miles focus on Kraven. I don't know.
Maybe you have to play the game through twice. One is Peter and one is Miles.
Maybe.
Who knows? Although I will specifically say they did say it's a single player game because there was rumors. People, when they saw them together, thought potentially co-op, but no.
No, good. I don't want co-op. I don't
want to play with somebody else. Fuck that.
No, not in that game. I don't. I'm fine playing it the way it is. But yeah, I always just said after Miles Morales came out, I just thought it would be stupid if the next big Spider-Man game, like if he was in it and you didn't play him as all, I'm like, well, you would have gone all that effort to, especially because now people are going to be bigger fans of that character than Peter. There will be. You got to tell me that there's no one out there.
There'll be bigger. I don't know if they'll overtake Peter.
I reckon there's people out there. No, I'm sure say overtake. I'm just saying that there is a big group of people, not as big as Peter, but there's a big group of people out there who Miles is their favorite Spider-Man. How's that a hot take?
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take.
No. So those people would want to play as Miles. So I was just saying, like when Spider-Man 2 comes out, I just thought it would be weird to not let those people play as Miles, at least for some level of the game. Even if it's a quarter and he gets, Yeah, I think the majority will be Peter, but it just would,
more than 50%.
Yeah.
The real question is how many Mary Jane levels we're going to go play.
None. Fuck off. Don't want them. Stupid ass Mary Jane levels.
Sorry, MJ.
Nothing against MJ as a person. She's just shit to play in the video game. In the last trailer, God of War Ragnarok.
Are you happy that they announced that?
Oh, what a fucking flat reveal! I reckon they should have built it up and made it a bit more of a hype, just to fuck with everyone. Cool trailer though. So we get, I don't know, it's like time. It doesn't start right where sort of the teaser of 1 left off, because of course the first game ends with them going back to the Kratos' house and all that sort of stuff. This one, the trailer starts where they're already on the move. I mean, technically, I guess the game could start at the house still. We just maybe don't see that part.
Was he the kid older once we...
Yeah, he looks older.
In the teaser?
Yeah.
Not in the at the end of the game?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that's probably been changed.
He looks like, if I had to guess...
Look forward to a patch coming to God of War soon.
Maybe. I would say he looks 2 to 3 years older. How old do you reckon?
Oh, yeah. I think, yeah, at least that. It's hard to tell because obviously his voice is like way different.
Yeah.
Because Sonny Sujak is like much older now.
Yeah, kids age fast.
Well, you saw how old he was in the being Kratos documentary. He's like 6, 7, it seems like.
No, he's older than
he's
that.
Like he is definitely a teenager at the very least now.
Yes.
So
yeah, this is definitely teen Atreus.
Yeah.
The concept for the game basically seems to be Thor comes down and says, "Fuck you, mate." He's like, Ragnarok's coming. I guess the teaser that we got in the first game. So now they're on this mission to find a character whose name I can't remember, but the God of War from
Tyr?
Yeah, something like that sounds about right. Yeah, they should reveal him at the end of this, obviously. But yeah, it's the God of War of the Norse. Yeah, that's who it is. You see Thor's hammer at some stage. They did reveal what Thor looked like in a character poster or character art thing after the fact.
Yeah.
People have been getting all up in arms because they're like, oh, it's Fat Thor or whatever. But they've
wow.
That's what the Twitters are on.
What's your take on it, Dylan?
I think that's what he's described.
See, as someone who hated Thor as depicted in...
I had nothing wrong with the way he looked. I just hated the fact that he was used for comedy. It's nothing to do with the... That's the main thing. I've no problem with him being hashtag fat with a PH.
No, I think in Norse history, bulkier, like, builded dudes are like
sex
more
gods.
intimidating. Yeah.
I think his look is based on what it's like his original.
If you look at Asterix and Obelix, the comic, Obelix is is like the base model, really.
Yeah,
he's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, that's like your.
Which of those two do you want to fight?
That's
Asterix because he's tiny.
Yeah, the Thor that everyone's known from Marvel is not really the Viking look that is from the mythology, really. So this is more in line with it. So that's fine. I don't know why.
It looks more in line with Volstagg in the Marvel comics. But yeah. I will also say this Thor looks like our good friend Nicholas Pryor with hair.
You call Nick fat?
Just put it out there. And I'm calling him very strong and muscly and would be an excellent god of thunder.
There you go. Turn that around.
If only he had hair.
Yeah, that's the letdown.
That's the only thing holding him back from being the god of thunder.
So, trailer shows human enemies, fucking centaurs, something that looks like a troll, and by God, I hope it's not. There's a thing here where like Atreus summons a Patronus or some shit.
He's riding around on a goat. It's awesome.
Yeah, and then they save the God of War, which I presume is like in the first couple hours of the game, to be completely honest, if I was to take a guess at what's happening there. Yeah, it looks good. I'm surprised how much this trailer showing, because I was like, we've literally haven't had a title reveal. I was expecting at least a cinematic or a teaser trailer first and build the hype, but this looks so far along that maybe it's coming out maybe in that mid slot next year.
Dylan, it was meant to be out now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It got pushed because of COVID.
Yeah, so
I'm sure they were pretty far along.
So maybe it's coming out mid slot next year, not late next year. Hopefully. Obviously, they didn't give a rough date because I guess they're just going to wait until they're 100% sure that they can get it out the door.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is that, fuck is his name?
Corey
Barlog is not directing this game. it is someone else.
Yeah, that was an interesting reveal in the post.
Yes. Fuck, I forgot to get his name up, eh? Someone we've all gone from remembering the dude who's like, oh, the dude who made God of War, yeah, Cory Barlog, and now we're like, who's this dude? He was in the the after show or whatever. Nope, that's not him. I can't find his name. Fucking whatever. Anyway, whoever it is,
like Eric something.
Eric sounds right. Eric something. Sorry, Eric something. Corey is not involved at all, by it seems, other than
Eric Williams.
There you go, Eric Williams. So they talk about in the posting how it's sort of tradition. Every new God of War, someone new works on it. Corey says, doing these games takes a lot out of you. We want a different perspective for the game. All of that makes sense. I just think everyone had kind of assumed that Corey was still doing it because the way it was his baby.
He's still a creative director at
the studio in general, but like.
So I'm sure he has some sort of input story-wise. And
I think he's working on something else. Like with him as the main director, because they teased that at the end. He gets asked, Sid Schumann asks him what he's working on. He's like, oh, you'd like me to reveal that, wouldn't you, or whatever. So it sounds like they're working on something else at the same time that Corey's the lead on. I think the good thing about having someone else do it is if Corey's input for the first game was the very like dad theme or dad thematics that was brought to that game, then bringing in this other Eric dude. What's his last name?
Eric Williams.
So he's going to bring his own, I guess, theme and focus to it that's different, which is good. Because if we'd got a second game of dad stuff, it might have been a bit too much. And this game's obviously going to focus on something a little different. I would guess
we'll probably still get dad stuff.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like, the main focus, I just think, is moving beyond that because Atreus's and Kratos' relationship is supposed to be better. Now, that was the whole point of the first game.
I mean, he's a teenager. That just makes it more difficult, is all I'm saying, It seems like, Kratos is still treating him like a child. So that's what it seems like from what little bit we've seen.
To a degree.
Like, wanting to protect him and, like, shield him from the world. Whereas Atreus wants to find out all the stuff about his potential future. Prophecies.
If I was to guess, I would say it's either, like, the main theme will either be about his mother or at least, like, family or something like that, because the character they reveal at the end, I was trying to find the character's name, because they did reveal it somewhere, but I can't find it.
The
girl.
A Braga or something?
Something like that. So she's, like, the last giant or whatever they say, or something along those lines.
Angrboda. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah. So that's potentially someone related, or, like, maybe not. So I don't know. Could either be like, because that's on his mother's side. Spoilers for God of War, I guess.
Yeah.
At this stage, surely I can do God of War spoilers, but with Kratos's lover / Atreus's mother revealed at the end to be part giant or whatever it was. That's obviously an element they're playing into in this game with her being revealed at the end. And the fact that character is revealed at the end makes me feel like that's obviously a tease for like an important character going forward. So now I'm thinking, maybe thematically it is more about the mother. The first game was about the father. I guess that would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing was, and I still don't know if this is like lost in translation, but there was a lot of if this is the last game, if this isn't the last game. So they're apparently saying that this is the last in the Norse saga. Whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems they said it in a way, like with wording that you could interpret it both ways, that they're setting up for a third game or that this is the end of it.
Because originally it was Nibble or whatever tweeted like, oh, so-and-so just said this is the last game in the saga or whatever. And then I replied to him and it got a bunch of likes randomly. But people were like, because I replied to him, he just said this is setting up or something was the wording. Like this is the setup to the last of the saga. Building to the last of the saga. And I took that as meaning building to, as in the third game, the next game is the last of the saga. But then in the following segment interview, after the fact, they reworded it and someone else said, this is the last in the Norse saga or whatever. And I'm thinking two games is a fucking weak-ass saga. Like 2 games?
Yeah.
What a saga. It's a game and a sequel. That's not really a saga. So I don't know. It'd be really weird if it was. But even if this is the end of the Norse saga, they could literally.
It doesn't even need to be the end of the Norse saga. It's just we're building to Ragnarok is what they were more talking about.
Well, they said Ragnarok's going to happen. They clearly said in the interview, Sid Schumann asked, the game's called Ragnarok. Does Ragnarok happen? They didn't try and hide it. They said yes, Ragnarok happens. Spoilers, I guess. I don't know. Cool. So it does happen. That's the thing. So 2022 release date. And do remember that, yes, God of War Ragnarok is coming to both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So it is still, we're in a weird
Why would you choose to play it on PlayStation 4?
I guess if you can't get a PS5 still.
Yeah. That's true. By that point, they should be everywhere, right?
We'll see.
Right?
Cross fingers.
Also, shout out to the Santa Monica team for getting all their devs t-shirts out. Like, apparently they couriered them to every single member of the dev team so they could have them. One, so the name and design wasn't leaked. And two, so they could, like... It seemed like every single member of the dev team I saw on my Twitter timeline today.
During the reveal?
Posting shirts, yeah. Which was a pretty wholesome content.
Good job hiding the name that we all assumed was the name. What a secret. All right, that'll do it for today's secretive extra special episode.
What thumb rating would you end up giving it?
Oh, double thumbs down.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah. Double thumbs down. And that's the thing with the rating system sometimes with the whole double up, one down, double down. I'd be pushing closer to a 1 up, 1 down, but not quite there, so I'm going to have to go double down. There was a lot that just didn't get me excited. And even for the stuff I like, my biggest thing is I'm ranking it as a presentation. And as a presentation, I think the pacing and the order and whatever the hell this was is just fucking dumb. It was a weird way to do a presentation. From the 2-minute stupid trailer at the start through to the let's just do a normal show, and then at the end have Herman Holtz be like, all right, here's the shit you've been waiting for.
Jalen, if you'd watched Queen's Gambit, you would have appreciated that opening, Chris. Much more.
I watched an episode. Come on, counts. Yeah. All right, that'll do it for this week's this special episode of Platinum Explosion. Tune back in, of course, Wednesday for regular episodes of Platinum Explosion, where we'll be talking about other things, I presume, maybe some more news about this stuff, who knows. By then, head on over to explosionnetwork.com for more stuff and enjoy. Let us know on Twitter or Discord what you thought of the showcase. explosionnetwork.com/Twitter for all our Twitters, explosionnetwork.com/Discord for all the Discords, and until next episode, until Wednesday, remember, every trophy counts.